What a beautiful Saturday it is. On behalf of Operation Rock and the Rescuing Our Community initiative to educate and empower actual victims of domestic violence and crimes that are ignored or portrayed by law enforcement due to gender bias and racism, I am Clayton Howard, an actual victim of domestic violence and intimate partner stalking who was horribly framed and slandered by members of Staten Island law enforcement, to include its district attorney and a local corrupt um, black pastor by the name of Victor Allen Brown. People, the conspiracy to deprive me of my civil rights was massive. And a lot of people will have heard me talk, and they think, that I, as a advocate, am wrong, that I'm mistaken, that maybe, possibly, just maybe, that I am just exaggerating the things I am saying. Unfortunately, audience, I'm not. I would never go public and speak this aggressively and openly against anyone that I could not prove had violated my civil rights and was 100% guilty of what I am saying. I have become wise enough to realize that the best thing you can do when you don't know everything is to shut the hell up. And people, I've done that. I've done that despite the fact that I've spoken so openly about my ex. There's a whole lot of stuff I haven't said about her or the people that were involved until I was actually ready to come forward because I was sure I could prove it. The worst part about being a victim, from what I have experienced, is when you actually gain the legality of victimhood through proving the fact that your offender has violated you, but instead of law enforcement actually accepting the fact that you could be right, what they decide to do is totally play you and just completely disregard your rights. Now, is that right? Absolutely not. I can say for certain that it is wrong when members of a law enforcement authority ignore the actual victim in favor for someone who they like or who they have personal connections to. Now, the sad part about my situation is that's exactly what happened. My ex girlfriend happened to have incredibly solid, incredibly solid connections on Staten Island, and those connections afforded her the opportunity to wage war on me. And she absolutely did wage war on me, people. She had a great deal of connections. She was smart, people. She attacked my connections. She attacked my relationships she knew I had with people who were close to my mother. And because of that, guess what, people? I went down. People turned on me. They were actually happy. They were actually happy, people, that I was forced and being forced to fight this woman. I've learned so much about victimhood in this experience, people. I've learned what it actually means, and it hurts to say what I already know, but victimhood is not about justice, and it's actually not about truth or right and wrong. In the eyes of law enforcement, most of the time, victimhood is about prosecuting the person who they believe is victimhood is more about prosecuting the person whom they want to hold accountable than actually holding the person who might be fully accountable, if that makes any sense. We see that in situations all over the media right now. There's a current situation going on right now with Diddy. And Diddy's in jail because allegedly he forced Cassie to do all of this sex trafficking shit where she was made to do it and it was against her will and she was made to sleep with big back strong male prostitutes. And eventually we're going to know the truth, which is that is a lie. Um, Law enforcement has a tendency to over accentuate any claims against a man, especially a minority man, that they want to prosecute and hold before the court. They actually will foster a victim. They create victimhood. They create a perception in the public and in the community that someone who they back, it may actually be a victim. The worst part about that, people, is when that person is not a victim. Because if a district attorney or police support someone whom they know are lying, then they are just as guilty as the person who is lying. If you're being harassed by, let's say, an ex partner like myself, I like to use myself, people, because all of this stuff really happened to me. And the best experience and way to teach people things is you've actually experienced them. You can't teach somebody how to box if you teach somebody if you ain't never thrown a spin kick. Or you can't actually, if you've never gone to law school, people, you experience things and you're actual be able to effectively talk about them. So I have experienced false arrest. I have conspiracy to deprive me of my freedom and my civil rights. When Mike McMahon and Victor Brown used their positions and authority, NYPD and Staten Island's law enforcement overall, to falsely actual victim. Now, people, I say that they falsely depicted her because when her in St. John's University and named her Staten Island's Victim of the Year, people, she was defended with numerous orders of protection against her, one of which was lodged against her, that's the word, after a 3-week trial where she presented over 150 pieces of counter evidence against me, and her claims were completely dismissed, and I was granted an order of protection. People, when you go to court, family court, and you're dealing with situations like this as a man, they tell you to be patient, that you have to wait, and the system and the judge is going to see the truth at the end. Audience, that's what I did. I was patient. I went through the trial. She presented her case. I presented my case. And people at the end, a judge who I had no connection to, who actually didn't even like me because I was so aggressive and angry during the trial, convicted my ex Francina Evans and acquitted me. He did so because of the recordings I have played, the text message that I have shown, and all the proof I have to substantiate the fact that Francina Evans was broken up with by me and stalking me because she was mad I would not rekindle the relationship. Now, there are so many people within the borough of Staten Island who supported this girl for various reasons. A lot of the thirsty clown dudes supported her because she's pretty, and they thought by supporting her and hating on me, they would get closer to her because that's the nature of clown bitch ass dudes on Staten Island. Forgive me, I know some of y'all who watch me are religious, but it doesn't make you non-religious if you use profanity from time to time. Let's be adults and not look for a reason to diminish anything I'm saying based off what's the word I'm looking for? Content or my verbiage. Let's not use that as an excuse to discount my claims. As a minority watching me right now, there is no way if you live on Staten Island that you can deny, the fact that Staten Island has a great ingrained history of racism and unfairness towards minorities. I am not the first person who was ever set up. So yeah, I get it. You guys don't care because a nigga gets set up all the time on Staten Island. But someone has to care. Because if someone doesn't care and someone doesn't start to speak out against the things that are actually happening at the behest of corrupt law enforcement like Victor Brown, who unfortunately uses a position that was bestowed upon him to protect the community and be a liaison between the police and the community, he has manipulated into a position of power for himself, falsely positioning himself as this experienced law enforcement officer inside a gun and drug bust. People, he's a fucking clergy pastor. He has no actual police experience. He's never solved a damn case. He's never interviewed a witness. People, he's a clergy pastor. Why is Victor Allen Brown in meetings with the district attorney and gun seizures, people? How did this clergy pastor get so close to a corrupt district attorney with a history of prosecuting innocent minorities? And it looks so presentable, people. It's amazing that I'm considered an idiot or a fool or uneducated, but I am one of the few people who see that the connection between Victor Allen Brown and Michael McMahon is not holy. There is supposed to be a separation of church and state. The church and the state are not the same place. The black church and law enforcement has historically been at odds. And people, we have to go back to that, to the earliest forms of police departments, as I have taught my audience, which was the slave patrols that were created in the South to manage and punish slaves. Your local police department, as it exists today, solely exists due to the creation of the slave patrols before the Civil War. Once the Civil War came into effect, slavery was illegal. These racist white bastards need to transition their practice of controlling black people into something that had a larger form of legality. So what they did was they created the Black Code, which was laws to imprison black people for vagrancy and not working, and they created things like Jim Crow and a bunch of unfair and illegal local statutes and state laws to arrest minorities and further impose slavery on us. The easiest thing that they have always done to us people is use public perception to paint us as guilty. When you think about the famous false prosecutions of innocent minorities where they were hung or horribly violated, we think of the Emmett Tills, we think of the those young girls in Alabama where the church was bombed. You have to think of all of those horrible violations to African American people. When you think of those people in large context, the only reason these things became so horrible is because the offenders got away with them. How did the offender get away with them, people? Because of the conspiracy between the police and prosecutors to make sure that a white man would never pay for killing a nigga if they could get away with it. So what would they do, people? They would affect witnesses, they would falsify or withhold evidence, and they would horribly paint that innocent black man who might have been arrested as a rapist, a beast, and an uncontrollable nigga. Because that's how we've always been depicted, people, black people. We've always been depicted as animals. Now I have to make a personal apology to my black people because I was online maybe a year or so ago, people fighting for my rights, and there was more anger in my speech. But I had a right to be angry, people. I had a legitimate right to be angry and want justice because I had been wrong. I had a legitimate right to be angry in my audience because my mother, a woman who had done so much for the community of Staten Island, was horribly lied on by Francina Evans and supported by Victor Brown. This wife cheating, thief, conniving, just completely deplorable pastor with a history of sexual allegation, of inappropriate sexual allegations against women, embezzling money from his church for his own personal expenses, and violating the sacrilege of marriage as a pastor. People, just off of the three accusations I've made against Victor Brown that I know are 100% true, that's why I can say they are facts. They are not allegations. Victor Allen Brown is not a pastor who is worthy of the respect of the community of being a strong spiritual leader. People, the gift of oratory and knowing the Bible and memorizing scriptures don't really make you about God. Some of the most manipulative con men in history have been people who have used the clergy to make others think to a large scale that they were ordained by God. People, it's in the history of the human race how many times religion has been used to manipulate massive amounts of people. People, that's all Victor Allen Brown is. But he's a low-level manipulator. He's not a TD Jakes. He's not a Marvin Sapp. He's not a he's not a oh God, he's not a Hezekiah Walker. People, he's a local joker clown ass dude. If we had to compare Victor Brown in scales of significance, people, on a large scale, making somebody like TD Jakes important, Victor Brown would be a fucking flea. He's nobody, people. He's a clown, people. He always has been a clown who has been a parasite off of the people of his church. He manipulates them, people. This is what he's done for 30 years, people. Now, in suing Mount Sinai Church, I learned a lot about it, people. I really did. I learned about Thomas E. Brown and how they had their first church in Brooklyn and how they originally went over to Post Avenue. I know it's a non-denominational church. People, I'm not playing. I have to sue Mount Sinai Church because Victor Allen Brown will not grant me the respect or grant my mother the respect and pay the debt he owes her. And I will say that Victor Allen Brown owes my mother a debt. And the debt he owes her is more than friendship and loyalty, people. He owes my mother the truth. The truth of the matter is that the speech that Francina gave in his church was a lie. It was never the truth, people. I was horribly lied on. And this guy wanted to lie on me so bad and protect the things that he had stepped out in the public and backed her on, that he decided to continue to support her narrative, even though he knew definitively once my charges were dropped that I was innocent, people. That's not a pastor. A real pastor works for peace, people. A real pastor works for mutual resolution and agreement. They don't side with one person and then scheme behind the other person's back to lie and get them arrested, people. That's a piece of shit. That's not a pastor. That's not a man who deserves to have any respect in the community that values Christianity or God. Now, people, we if you're from Staten Island, because I speak a lot about Staten Island because I grew up there, people. My mother was a minister there for 30 years. She gave her life helping these people, and the most painful thing I feel as her son left alone without this person who I was so close to is the betrayal that the community of Staten Island did to my mother. They totally betrayed my mother. They used my mother when they want to use her name to look like they connected. But the truth of the matter is that all of these people are fake. That's why I don't choose to participate with them anymore in anything that they've done. My mother has been honored twice in the last 2 years, and I haven't gone. One, I chose not to go because the fake members of her church were there, and people, they had done so much to her by lying and getting her removed from honorees to benefit the pastor and make money for themselves that I couldn't deal with them, people. So I could not go and sit in this event and pretend that these people in her church honestly loved her and supported her. Stapleton Church didn't love Maggie Howard. They used her. They used her for her connections, for her energy, for her ability to absorb their pain and their woes. And then when she died, they just looked for someone else to feed off her so they can do the same thing to them that they did to Reverend Howard. And this is why I can kind of understand why Lamar Allen is the way he is. Because Lamar Allen, even though he and I are enemies, he knows I'm telling the truth. He knows that him and those people in that church was horrible to my mother. Now he'll go and tell people that Clayton was horrible, but people, I wasn't what I am now. I wasn't a man who I wasn't the person I am now, people. And yeah, people, I might have taken advantage. What child doesn't take advantage of their mom that and not think that their mom will suddenly drop dead? People, nobody thinks that their parent is going to drop dead on them, people. I talked to my mother one Saturday and she talked to me, complaining about my sister. And I said, Ma, chill out. You hungry? You want some African spinach? Because she loved that stuff, people. She loved how Africans made spinach with all the stuff. It had been one of her new things. The truth is, her health was bad and she shouldn't have been eating that shit. But I ain't never want to tell my mother no. She liked something. I like to eat and chill with her. I would bring her food. I would sit in the lobby of her church, and me and my mother would talk for hours. My mother was probably one of my best friends. That's what makes the loss so heavy for me, people. That's what makes my need to vindicate her and to fuck it, I'm gonna say it, make the people who betrayed her pay. That's my mission. That's what fuels my heart, people. That's what wakes me up every day and motivates me to continue to go to school for my degree and to also advocate like I am doing against Michael McMahon, Victor Brown, Debbie Rose, and all of these fake advocates, public officials, and clown ass people like Charles Paul, who my mother knew, who helped Francina Evans frame me. Because, people, that's the truth. It is the truth that there is a massive conspiracy with people who knew my mother to frame me for something they never even investigated, because my ex was better connected now that my mother was dead. See, Francina Evans, she unleashed a masterful plan. It was a mastermind plan, people. I totally respect it. See, the first thing she did to destroy me was attack the relationship she knew I would rely on once everything she was doing blew up. Her and her mother had been filing false police reports on me the whole time. Francina was begging me to get back with her. And every time I would refuse, she would hang up the phone and she would do some fucked up shit like file a false police report and lie on me, because she was really trying to build a case against me to dead me on the stuff that she stole. She's a total piece of shit. So now, people, this happens, and this detective from the 123, God bless this man. All detectives ain't bad, people. You might hear me say some things about cops, but it's been because my entire experience with police have been bad. It's not that I believe all police are bad, because the truth is I don't, people. I believe that police deserve the opportunity and the respect if they are genuine to do their job. But if they're not allowed that, if they're not around that, hold on, I'm trying to do something real quick. But if they don't do that, people, then they're a problem and they deserve to be spoken against. Because if you don't speak against them, what happens is these police officers will stay in the same position and they'll keep violating more and more people's rights, and there'll be nothing you can do because they'll get away with it. The way law enforcement and corrupt the people destroy your life is with paperwork you don't understand or lack the knowledge to fight them on. When you're charged in court, you're charged with a criminal complaint. The criminal complaint is just the initiating document, people. The complexity of the process, if you don't know what's going on, is what gets you convicted. The fact that the prosecutor will manipulate opinion and create a narrative that makes you appear to be the way they want you to is why you get convicted. I've spoken even in fairness to prosecutors, people. A prosecutor's job is not to exonerate you. A prosecutor's job is to prove that you're guilty. So a prosecutor is supposed to release exculpatory evidence, which is evidence that proves you're innocent. But how does that benefit them if they really want to arrest you and they know that you're innocent? So people, what they do is they'll hide the evidence that makes you look innocent. They'll lie. They'll create a whole false narrative to make you look like an offender, because people, what really convicts people in criminal trials is the opinion of other people, even though the process is overall controlled by corrupt judges, corrupt DAs, corrupt police people on a local level. Deprivation of minority rights is not, excuse me, solely caused by the police. The police are only a third. People, it takes the system to falsely imprison and arrest people and prosecute them. The police arrest you, the DA drafts a complaint against you and falsifies information to make you look guilty, and the judge will convict you based on the narrative, because the judge, most of the time, they don't care unless they want to care. The most unregulated and the hardest thing to do is stop a judge, because the judge is given absolute immunity over their decisions. So a lot of the time, these people have literally the right to shit on you and totally violate your rights. And because they're protected by the structure of the court and the legality of the process, 90% of the time, 95% of the time, they get away with it. Because most people don't know how to stop a judge. I don't even know how to fully stop a judge yet, people. I've learned some things to put them on blast, but people, it's incredibly hard to stop judges and prosecutors unless you can definitively prove that they have done something to you to violate your civil rights. And even if you can prove it, it's not easy. You have to lay it out in such a way that a federal judge will have no choice but to accept the fact that something happened and you could possibly be correct. Now, people, I'm telling you this for a reason, because there was a lawsuit in against the Staten Island DA's office. And people, again, you know, my main thing is I am a visual man. I like to show people shit. So I'm going to show, because I don't want anybody who is willing to me to think that I am ever the capital. So in this screen here is my complaint filed against the city of New York, NYPD, Richmond County DA, and several other people who I have listed as Jane Doe's, because we're not going to come out with them publicly until it's time to rock and roll. People, based on this complaint and the factual evidence that support this complaint, which is a lot, people, Staten Island, the NYPD, Joseph Quirk, like I told you, in conjunction with members of the Richmond County DA's office who were controlled by Michael McMahon, who personally knows my ex and supported her breaking up is not a crime movement. They conspired to have me arrested. Like I told you, I won this order of protection on December 1st of 2002. People, I thought it was over. My ex didn't. So what she did was she went into the 120, and despite the fact that there was a lifetime no contact final restraining order issued against her 72 hours before she lodged her complaint, and there was a warrant on her, Staten Island law enforcement first dismissed her warrant, even though she had just been convicted of violating me. So by definition, she was supposed to be arrested for violating the order of protection. The 120 precinct issued that warrant, but what they did was they dismissed that warrant, and then they allowed her to go into the same precinct to accuse me of lying, despite the fact that she got convicted in the state of New Jersey. Now, people, that right there is a huge violation of my civil rights, because as a victim and as the actual recipient of an order of protection that had been solidified in the trial, they had a mandatory obligation to arrest Francina Evans for that violation. But see, people, Staten Island had been supporting Francina. Breaking up is not a crime. Clayton's a monster who assaulted her. He's such a disappointment to his mother. People, they did everything they could to defame me and break me, but they fucking couldn't, people. I got through it all, and now you see, excuse me. I don't know where that came from. That's disgusting. Forgive me, people. I think my daughter gave me a cold. Kids are like germ factories, people, but I am enjoying being a dad. I even enjoy the fact that I caught this little kid's damn cold nasty. And she's with me today. She sleeps, so I got to wrap this up. But this is my complaint, people. There's no way that an attorney would have taken a complaint against the police and the prosecutors who are granted what's called absolute immunity if there did not exist enough probable cause to support that complaint. And see, I have a reasonably skilled attorney in my attorney Tyrone Blackburn. And although he might have just lost some cases against Sean Diddy Combs, I don't really blame him for that. My case, I can totally validate. And I am quite confident that we are going to win this case. Because again, people, I got arrested for a situation that was reported in the state of New Jersey. New Jersey is not New York. New Jersey has its own law enforcement authority, and that's why they have the state of New Jersey and their own court, which is not the Supreme Court like New York, it's the Superior Court of New Jersey. New Jersey handles its own family offenses and its own criminal offenses, and people, guess what? It even handles its own civil offenses. So why would Francina Evans take allegations that happened in New Jersey to Staten Island? Well, people, I'm going to tell you why. Because she was connected on Staten Island. Because she was sleeping with someone in the DA's office who was allowing her access unrestricted in and out of the DA's office, even though there were criminal allegations on against her and multiple orders of protection. People, when have you heard anyone in their existence being able to go and have meetings with the DA when they're facing criminal prosecution and have numerous orders of protection against them? But this person is treated like the victim, even though all of the evidence against them says they're offended. People, it never happens. The only ways it happens if there is a massive amount of corruption around this person. And that's what existed around Francina, who is a completely deplorable and pathological liar. Now, I don't really know how, in the end, this is all going to end. I don't. I can't know. I couldn't know that the bitch was crazy when I started dating her. I couldn't know any of these people. You really don't learn things like this until people expose themselves. But the one thing I do know is that I will not allow anyone who helped this woman play me or create a platform where they pretend to advocate for victims when this victim knows you're full of shit. And now I get to the point of today's broadcast. So, people, there is a local Staten Island woman by the name of Stephanie Pendergrass. And yes, Steph, I just said your name because you're a crazy ass lady. Now, people, Facebook is about social interaction. And we make posts about family, friends, opinions, whether political or personal. And if we expect people to agree with us. But in reality, people don't have to agree with you. And the whole point of individuality is to have your own opinion. So if someone, let's say I make a Facebook post and someone responds to my post and says, Clayton, you're a piece of shit, blah, 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 blah. I could get mad and I could delete this person, but you know what that would make me? That would make me fake. Because that means I want everybody to agree with me. In real life, is that everyone is not going to agree with you. People are not going to like you, and they're not going to agree with everything you said. So in maturity, realizing this, years ago, I stopped blocking people when they said something I didn't like. Because people, I really don't care. You say something I don't like, you got a negative opinion against me, you can kiss my ass. You don't matter. You don't do nothing for me, so I don't care. Like I've mentioned, I was horribly betrayed by the advocacy community of Staten Island. People stepped up to me. They pretended like they cared, like they saw what was going on and they were going to support me. But when they would look into my situation, they would realize how many powerful people were around Francina. Like I've said, Charles Fall, Debbie Rose, Mike McMahon, Victor Brown, people. She had all of the major players around her. And if you don't believe me, again, I have a recording from Ronti Olagungi where he literally says this to me on the phone, that Francina is powerful and she has the DA next to her. So, it's not really much that him or dudes could do. There really was something to do, though, if they really were advocates of male justice and minority rights, and that was to speak up. The only way you would not think there was something to do when you realize somebody's rights were violated as a minority is if you were a coward and actually part of the problem. And that's why I consider Ronti, Malcolm Penn, and Mike Perry parts of the problem and cowards. Because, see, they knew that Francina was lying. But Mike and Malcolm Penn, Mike and whatever the fuck his name, Mike and Malcolm wanted to have sex with Francina, which I do have Ronti on tape telling me and confessing. So they decided that they didn't know me that well, so they would set me up to gain points with her. And this is why me and those gentlemen have problems. Now back to Stephanie Pendergrass. So Stephanie Pendergrass makes a post in a Facebook group I'm a part of which I believe was started by Reverend Robert Perkins. Shout out to Robert Perkins, man. Robert Perkins is a good man. Um, she makes a post, and it's a post I guess she's doing for an event for victims advocacy or something like that. And I saw this post. Now, Stephanie Pendergrass and I have a history because, like I said, Stephanie was someone who pretended to support me and then ghosted me and tried to shit on me once she realized that I was not as popular as my ex. So she totally ghosted me, people. If I wanted to log on to my Facebook account, I could show you what happened when Stephanie Pendergrass totally ghosted me. But maybe she forgot about that at the point of that me responding to her post, whatever it was. I don't know. I've learned not to be so to attack people so directly. So as politely and respectfully as I can when I saw this post, I responded with a message basically saying, if you're going to have an event for victims, just be sure that these victims are actually telling the truth and not just women who want to use your platform to lie on an innocent man. I further went on to say that Staten Island has a history of this, and I kind of believe I called her fake based off of the history of she and I and what had happened. But I didn't diminish her event. I simply told her, you know something, if you're going to have an event, just do your best to make sure the people that's going to advocate tell the truth, because lying is a big problem in domestic violence and victim rights. Yo, Shorty gets offended, and maybe she had the right to get offended, whatever. She starts telling me that I don't know her, that I need to ask Robert Perkins about her and all of this stuff. I don't give a damn. Not to say I don't care about Perk say, but Perk is his own man, so am I. What he say to me ain't gonna move me, people, if I don't agree with it. He can tell me whatever the hell he wants. If I don't agree with it, I'm not gonna listen because I'm my own man. I won't disrespect him, but I'm gonna be like, nah, homie, I don't agree with that. That's not what happened. And that's gonna be it. It's not gonna be an argument because Perk is a man. We can talk like men. So she says all of this stuff to me, and I'm like, yo, listen, lady, I said what I said. I have a personal experience with you. You were not good to me. You betrayed me, and you totally shitted on me. So I'm speaking from my experience. If you don't like it, tough shit, deal with it. People, she got the nerve to tell me that I'm defaming her. Defaming you? You ignorant chick, you need to learn what the word defamation means. People, defamation means, you know what? Like I said, people, I'm a visual person. I like to show people what the hell. I like to give people visuals and examples of the shit I'm saying, because I just don't believe in stupidity anymore, people. I don't talk about shit I don't know. I don't talk about things that are going to waste my energy. So, people, here we go. Let me show you what defamation means before I get into Stephanie Pendergrass. Now, here is the legal definition of defamation. I don't know if my audience can see it, but if you can't, I'm going to blow it up because, people, I just really want people to know before I get into my point. Because there's probably people out there, like even Victor Allen Brown, he's probably trying to say that I'm defaming him and mine, but people are not. Defamation is a statement that injures a third party's reputation. The tort for defamation includes both libel, written statements, and slander, spoken statements. State common law and statutory law governs defamation actions, and each state varies in their standards for defamation. So, defamation is a statement made that injures a person's reputation. That has to be false. Key. It should say that there, but it has to be fake. You can't. They can't sue you for defamation if you're telling the truth. That's 100% fact. And I think I need to go even further. I think that's actually a good idea. Let's go to LexisNexis. LexisNexis is one of the ultimate legal resources, and they give you the best explanations. It has become probably my most used website. As you can see, I got statutory case law up here. People, I'm serious in my journey about the law because my rights were so horribly violated. People, I realized that as a black man, I need to learn this. If not for myself, for other black men I may encounter before I die who go through this and don't know what the hell to do. And even black women. Just because I say black men, black women realize that I realize that you too are also victims and that men do things like this to you. But as a man who this was done to by a woman, I speak about men most of the time. So let me ask LexisNexis to detail the definition of defamation. Damn, hold on, people. I'm typing too fast, probably because I know y'all watching me. Defamation in New York State. Can someone be sued for defamation if the statements made are true? So let's ask LexisNexis, people. Again, I like to educate my audience, and we're going to go to one of the ultimate legal resources just to confirm if Clayton Howard was right, and defamation is only accurate if the statement is false. Let's go, because it's going to tell us any second. Shit, I gotta pay them this month, yo. This was a great tool. This was probably one of the best things I. What? Oh, there it goes. Okay, there it goes. Hold on. Let's just get it to the point first, where let's just get it there first, and then I'll blow it up enough so my audience can read. Because again, people, I like to educate you, and I think it benefits everyone to know the truthful definition of what things are. It helps you. Let me see if I can make this bigger real quick for you guys. Yeah, I like the way that looks. That looks good, guys. So let me show you what definition is. Da 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 da. Considering that screen is big there. I think I can lower it down so I can manage the page a little better for myself. There we go. Choose to store high correct. Okay, here we go. I think that's it. Yes. Okay, so in New Jersey, and I hope my audience can see this because I want everyone to know. Actually, did I say New Jersey? You know what? Let's reapply this for New York State. I'm so sorry, people, because that's what I was supposed to do. New Jersey doesn't matter because I'm talking about New York right now. So I'm going to copy this. And I think I actually, my conversation limit reached, so I got to restart. I post it. My jurisdiction is not New Jersey, it's New York. And I apply the jurisdiction, and then I ask my question. Shout out to LexisNexis, people. Great legal research tool. I love it. Now, let's let LexisNexis, explain to you what defamation is and whether or not someone can still be sued for defamation if what they're saying is actually the truth. Because I think that's important, even to the people of Mount Sinai Church who are watching me because they think that I'm slandering their pastor. Absolutely not, people. I want you to see what the true definition of defamation and slander is, based off the fact that I am claiming that Mount Sinai Church and Victor Brown supported Francina Evans, and you've seen the video of her talking about me beating my mother in church and everything that's going on. Okay, it'll be done in a second, people. So let me make sure it's big enough on the screen. It is. Great, people. So hey, welcome to Clayton School of Legal Information. In New York State, defamation in New York is defined as making a false statement that tends to expose the plaintiff to public contempt, ridicule, aversion, or disgrace, and induces an evil opinion of the plaintiff in the minds of right-thinking persons, thereby depriving the plaintiff of their friendly intercourse in society. To establish a claim for defamation, a plaintiff must demonstrate 1. A false statement, 2. Published to a third party without privilege or authorization, 3. Fault judged by at least a negligence standard, and 4. Either special harm caused by the statement or that the statement constitutes defamation per se. In New York State's case law statute of this case comes from Stefano and the Dow Jones Company, which is probably the Dow Jones sued Stefano because he defamed him by saying shit that wasn't true. Truth or substantial truth is an absolute defense to a defamation claim in New York. For those of you who don't understand, if someone sues you for defamation and you're telling the truth, that's your defense, and it's an absolute defense that allows you the ability to be what's known as acquitted or your case to be dismissed. If the statement in question is true and substantially true, if the statement is true, well, actually, let me reread that statement because it was two-part. Truth or substantial truth is an absolute defense to a defamation claim in New York State. If the statement in question is true or substantially true, it cannot be the basis of a defamation lawsuit. Minor inaccuracies in a statement do not negate the defense of the truth as long as the overall substance of the statement is accurate. Additionally, only statements of fact, not opinion, can be actionable for defamation, as opinions cannot be proven true or false. So, people, what does that mean? Actually, let me read it again for my legal beagles who like to know defamation. Defamation in New York State is defined as making a false statement that tends to expose the plaintiff to public contempt, ridicule, aversion, or disgrace, and induces an evil opinion of the persons in the mind of right-thinking persons, thereby depriving the plaintiff of their friendly intercourse in society. To establish a claim for defamation, a plaintiff must demonstrate 4 factors. 1, a false statement. 2, published to a third party without privilege or authorization. 3, fault judged by at least a negligence standard, and 4, either special harm caused by the statement or by the false statement constitutes defamation per se. Truth or substantial truth is an absolute defense to a defamation claim in New York. If the statement in question is true or substantially true, people, that means it can simply be partly true. It cannot be the basis of a defamation lawsuit. Minor inaccuracies in a statement do not negate the defense of truth as long as the overall substance of the statement is accurate. Additionally, only statements of fact, not opinion, can be actionable as defamation, as opinions cannot be proven to be false. So let's exit that, people. Let's get back to our rendition. So that is the legal definition of defamation.